Hi, I'm Alina and I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
I'm Izzy and I'm from Michigan.
I'm Maya and I'm from Maryland.
I'm Cairo and I'm from Oakland, California.
What does it mean to you to be Black?
I mean, personally, I feel like it's kind of like one big like team or like community, like we have a lot of
Yeah.
differences, but there's like one huge thing that ties us all together. Like that'll never change. I feel like it doesn't matter where you go, like, like being a part of this, like having this be a part of your identity, like it ties us all together.
I also feel like it's always an opportunity to be a part of like a legacy, like being like the first Black woman or Black man or like anything like that to do something is so amazing because it like leads to the rest of the community. And I don't know, it's like really nice to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, I think going off that kind of just being able to represent something beyond yourself. And I feel like especially the Black community does a lot to like uplift each other. And, you're always seeing in our community people, like you said, like doing new things or being the first like African American to do something. And just to be able to represent that and be a part of that is really cool.
Like, I just think we have a lot of history to be proud of, and like I'm glad to be a part of that history, especially in like now with everything going on. I just feel like it's important that we look back on our history and just keep going up from there.
Yeah,
I
and to be
also,
proud of that too.
Yeah.
yeah, I also feel like we're always like role models for like younger Black girls or even like boys that want to really get into sports, really want to commit to sports. I feel like just like we have the opportunity to educate so many people from like our experience or experiences we've learned about either from like our family or even like in school and things like that. And we always can relate to each other in a way.
It's kind of been one of my goals, like as I've grown up to be able to be that representation in like science, the science community, like you always hear like, oh, women in STEM or even like African Americans in STEM is not something that you see a lot. And so like I've
Yeah.
always wanted to be that representation of being like, a Black female in like the science, which I think is
Yeah.
something
It's also like we're all going to be like four strong Black women with degrees like very
Yeah.
soon, and that's another like huge thing in the community. It's amazing.
What has been your experience as a Black gymnast?
Mhm.
Definitely for me and my club gym, like they were very welcoming. Like I didn't feel different at all. But it's always like kind of like questions that maybe like a white gymnast doesn't understand as much, and like they ask me questions about like say my hair or like, just something and to that extent. And like I'm glad to like educate them about it and to like let them know because they genuinely like don't know. So other than that, like my experience as a Black gymnast has been great, and like I was glad to have people to look up to that were also Black gymnasts when I was younger as well, because you don't see a lot of Black gymnasts.
There are sometimes like stigmas where you're like, even like I feel like Maya gives us a lot like, oh, you're not good at form vault and like things like that where it's like those aren't like your strongest event. It's like
Yeah.
weird that like if like a Black gymnast isn't super powerful, or it's weird if like a Black gymnast can like do it all. Almost like there's a lot of like stigma I feel like with African Americans in gymnastics in all sports, but like because we're a part of a gymnastics team, like it's something I notice a lot, like a lot of assumptions and stereotypes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say going off of that, like I have experienced that not with like my team, but like just that because I was like there was literally me and like one other Black girl who was on my team and club, and they were always like super supportive and amazing. But like going out into the gymnastics world, like you see that, you hear that sometimes, and it's just it's just kind of weird, to think that we're such a minority in the gymnastics community.
Who are your inspirations / what inspires you?
I feel like I have a lot of like personal inspirations, like people that I knew when I was younger, but I feel like something that inspires me is like definitely like what we were talking about before, like being a part of a legacy or like something a lot bigger, or like being like the start of a lot of like young Black women being like, especially because our team is so diverse. Like
Right.
a lot of like Black girls like, oh my God, like it looks like I can actually do collegiate gymnastics, or like I could actually like be like great at a sport and like things like that.
Something that inspires me is that I have an opportunity that my ancestors didn't have, or like my grandmother, like she didn't have this opportunity to even be in athletics or to like further, like she definitely got her education or to like even be interested in something else, because the main thing that was on her mind is she needed to get her degree so that she can be successful. And like I'm glad that I have an opportunity to just do more than getting a degree, like to be a part of like a culture team like this. What has your experience been like at ASU?
I mean, personally, a big part of me choosing ASU was that a lot of the upper athletic staff is African American. So I felt like I would always be like vouched for and like always like have a voice through them. And that was always something so amazing to me. And like, I feel like I said before about Black gymnasts, like Black athletes all have like a silent support for each other, which is awesome. And like we go to each other's games and like we're like becomes really close friends with people. And I think that's awesome. And they also like do have like clubs for like African American athletes and things like that.
Experience like coming in, like I looked at Cairo and Miles, like, oh my gosh, they actually have two Black girls on the team. Like, this makes me want to go there because like the diversity. And then I saw Izzy was in my class. I was like, oh my gosh. And then Morgan Wilson, I'm like, yeah, like this is definitely where I want to be, because the diversity on this team like is very rare and you don't see it on a lot of other teams. Like you don't. And then definitely like the staff was the another big thing for me, because you definitely can go to them and like they provide all types of communication within like the Black student athlete community. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like what they're doing now too, like
I mean, I just love how like good they are about like having that support system like on a large scale and on a smaller scale. Like our ADs like Dina and Scotty have been like really good about like texting us and like making sure that we're okay.
They've also just like made sure that we always have like an open line of communication like about race, and like if something like if a situation does happen like on our team, Scotty and Dina will come in and like educate. Like no one will be in trouble. They just want to like educate a little bit, which is always really helpful.